I was going to say, undercoat him, put the contrast on. Done.
Yeah. I'll drop Elston into the chat here. He can join us too. I've been carrying on for the whole stream. G'day, Elston. We'll introduce you in a minute.
Hi.
It's not muted. I didn't have to tell him that your microphone's going to be muted.
It's a true professional.
Because there's less people on now, I think.
Well, he's been watching for a while, and he knows every time there's a guest on, unmute your microphone.
I've been watching since 5 a.m. this morning, and it's now 5 p.m.
Oh, wow. I've seen you.
Damn.
I've seen you in the chat there, and I saw you had it on in the background while you were working, and wow, that's amazing. Yeah. That's so good. That's so good. Thanks for joining us and jumping on.
Yeah, it's good, man. I've been watching the last hour and probably 2 hours now. I've just been absolutely captivated by it. It's like there were points where I was kind of getting a little bit teary myself, and I was like, I'm gonna go into this all nervous and racky. But just want to say you guys are doing an awesome job, and that goal is just incredible.
Oh, thanks, man. It's
Can
been
I fall
an
asleep
amazing
now?
Yeah.
No.
So Elston's taking over the stream.
To go.
Yeah, you know, if any of the UK guys wants to jump on, Elston will let you in. Thanks very much, guys. Ooh. I'm heading off. It's been great. It's been great.
Hopefully, I'm going to inject a little bit of energy because us Brits, we're all basically just finishing work, and it's Friday, so everyone's kind of a little bit excited right now.
Yeah. It's a weekend. You see,
it's Friday. Sorry, I'll stop doing Rebecca Black.
For us, it's been the public holiday today, so Friday. So you know,
yeah. So we got to do
4-day weekend.
We got to do lockdown on a public holiday instead of
amazing.
Second time in a year. Yeah.
It felt a little the same.
Yeah.
I feel so sorry for over here. It's gone a bit strange because everything is opening up. Like masks are no longer required.
No.
Oh, I'll bring that on.
That's weird. I went to the pub for the first time in ages. No mask. Sat down, had a pint with my friend. I was like,
it's so
Excuse
strange.
me for a moment while I just shed a tear for the lost pints in Australia.
It's so strange, and Ed and Mike and Ara will understand this. But obviously your laws over there are very different than ours. You still do seem to. My brother, who I was talking about before, left Byron Bay, has gone back to London. Has to do a 14-day quarantine there, right?
Yep.
But you have to do a 14-day quarantine when you come here, and that quarantine is isolation. You have zero contact with anybody else. The 14-day isolation that my brother has been doing. It has been at my house with my mum, her family, her husband Tim, or anyone who wants to come over, friends, family, anyone can come over. The only thing is they're just not allowed to leave the house, but they're still allowed to mix with anybody else who comes to the house. And I
hate to break it to them, that's not how COVID works.
It's not really a quarantine.
That's like when my in-laws in Queensland were going, the lockdown was so hard at Easter last year. We could only have 2 people over. Sorry, what?
It's not a lockdown?
Yeah. They've introduced the traffic light system over here. So if you come in from somewhere like a red country, you basically have to pay $2,000 and stay in a hotel. Like that's the mandatory thing. But there's not many of those because they're it seems like the British culture has gone, right, we've done our time now. Sod it, we're just going to carry on. And they've gone into the old-fashioned Churchill British mentality of let's just get on with this now. And it's a bit like, that's not really how pandemics work, guys. Just wait this way. It doesn't really work that way. However, a lot of people are vaccinated now. So they're looking at, I think last time they said they're looking between 5 and 10-year-olds vaccination for them to see if that works.
Yeah.
So, because everyone else, and they're also going around into the 3rd round of, they're calling it the boosters. Yeah. So everyone that's had their double jab is now coming into the season where they get their 3rd jab.
Yeah.
So
heading into winter.
Yeah. So, but don't get me wrong, there's some weird stuff going on over here. So, Brits. We think we've got it. We think we know what we're doing, but
I think everybody
with
thinks they know what
interest.
they're doing. I don't think anybody really knows what they're doing. One of my biggest bugbears with this whole thing is they're calling these shots that we're getting a vaccine, and in my mind, I don't really think using the word vaccine is correct.
Oh, you went all weird, Viv.
Oh no!
He's gone.
He's dropped.
Yeah.
Run.
How
Yeah.
is this?
Oh, no.
Oh, he's back. I don't know how this happens. Every stream I jump onto that is outside of the UK, I break. I jump onto American streams, they break. It's something about.
It's. We should call it revenge on the colonies.
Yeah, something like that.
Radioactive.
America's the lost colony, but we won't go there.
I've broken many an American stream.
Sorry, the batteries in my headset went flat, and the sound would have cut off on the stream too. But we should be back now.
Yeah, all good, buddy.
YouTube is telling me it's not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming, but we will see what happens.
Yeah, it bugged out for a minute, but it seems good now.
Yep.
Yeah, it should come back. Sorry about that.
Awesome sauce. So as I said, I'm going to inject a little bit of lifeblood into it because I know you guys have been like doing this for a long time. So
Start on my sex day.
This is the perfect time to have you on, Elston. You know, for the guys here in the Google Meet and the people in the chat, some people will be familiar with Elston. You know, some of you won't. But Elston is a commission painter and a prolific painter. You know, Elston wakes up, paints an army, then has a cup of coffee and sits down and sits down and has his breakfast.
Yeah.
So you know, it's kind of fortuitous, and you know that our time differences just align. You know, at this point where we're 14 hours into our stream, and you can come on and say, "Hey, Viv, you know those 90 Gondor warriors, you should have finished those 12 hours ago."
Oh yeah.
So
don't even let him talk about how slow I'm doing this. Like in Frenchies.
Do you want to know how to do them a little bit quicker?
Yeah, of course.
So, right, okay, just because I did a load of Gondor ones, hit them with like a bolt gun metal or something like that, wash them with non-oil gloss if you can get it, then dry brush with a silver all over it, then dry brush with a white, a very, very light white, and then fill in the rest of the shield, because all of the tree, the in-between bits, you won't catch with the dry brush, so you just need to fill in the black around it. And that's a really good way of doing them.
Well...
So off you go, Viv. Start again.
That's like exactly what he's been doing anyway.
Better get the sonic cleaner out. No, well, not really. Not really. You know, I tried on the Minister of Warriors to dry brush the detail on the shield. But, you know, I tried with, just a regular dry brush. And then I tried with makeup brushes. I tried with 2 or 3 different makeup brushes. But, you know, it doesn't matter how careful I was, you know, I'd still go over the shield. And then I'd be like, now I've got to fucking come back in and fix up the shield.
You just get little bits of masking tape and just fucking...
Yeah. Between all the branches just to be like...
You look like a teenage boy shaving for the first time. Little squares all over your models, you know?
Amazing. I am a crazy batch painter. Yeah, I've been told. So I have a weird routine. It's the term monster or machine has been thrown my way many times. And do you guys know of Dana Howell, the YouTuber?
I was just going to bring that up. Now, obviously, I know Dana Howell. I watch her videos. You know, she's got a great channel. But I don't know if the other guys in the chat do.
I've heard of her. Yep.
Yeah, I've heard
seen a couple of vids.
Yeah. So about 3 months ago, she put a video about this thing called miniature shame golf. Do you guys see it at all?
No,
yes. No. I haven't seen the actual video, but one of the guys who was on before, I think maybe Mike might remember, but Viv would definitely remember Dennis from the Netherlands was on. He donated €10. He started using this method. Yeah.
So the whole concept and the premise of it is it works in like minus numbers, so it works on golf rules. The more you paint, the lower the score you get, and the lower the score is the better. Whereas the more you buy, the score goes up, and that's worse. So if you buy a model, it's +1. If you paint a model, it's -1.
Yeah.
And then, so she basically created this Patreon, and it's a bit of a game, basically, to see who can get to the lowest number. And I thought it'd be funny to enter.
It was broken.
So
the rules were broken. And Elston gained
shot about 100 over par.
Okay.
So I got this from the Perry brothers. just a small French force of fuckloads of troops. But anyway.
Nice. That that entire game was designed for me. Yeah, it was. I felt to the point
You're
where
shooting
I felt
record
bad.
scores, you know.
I felt bad for people. I was just like, oh, no one's gonna like me after doing this. Another thing I must mention as well. This year I've been doing my own little challenge of not buying any minis this year, and the only real loophole in it is I can buy STL files and I can 3D print models. So that's the only loophole I've given myself. But,
I don't know about that loophole, Elson. You know, especially when you throw 10 quid or something on Patreon and you get like 50 minis a month.
Well,
Well, the true measure me. How many have you printed?
That's true.
See, now for actual full models, I think about maybe 20 throughout the entire year. What I did do though is there's a Patreon called Papsicle Miniatures. You ever heard of it at all?
No, I don't know.
Nah. Okay. Well, for the past 3 months or so, they've been doing AVP sculpts, so like xenomorphs from Alien and stuff like that.
Right. Has he got the Kickstarter right now?
Yes, that one.
Yeah,
So
I saw that the other
Patreon-
day.
Right. Yeah, I backed that.
Yeah,
I backed that on Kickstarter.
Yeah. So if you caught onto the Patreon, all of those have been released for the past 3 months.
Ooh.
So I took all the STL files of the xenomorphs, used Mesh Mixer to chop off the heads, and I've 3D printed all the heads.
Very French of you.
And then I've got a big old Tyrannid army which I was aiming to get to, and I've chopped all the heads off of them and swapped them out with xenomorph heads. So I've printed a lot of heads, but not a lot of full models, if that makes sense.
That's okay though. I think printing conversion bits is totally fine. I don't think that's a bad thing if you're using it to
100%.
do cool shit to your existing models. That's for sure.
Yeah, this is
doesn't create any new miniatures, so yep.
It touches on what we were talking about earlier in the stream, and Elston, you probably seen Benji's video from Benji's Hobbies. You know, he was printing bits, you know, printing extra bodies and bits to, you know, finish fleshing out, you know, all the extra parts that came in, you know, his Death Core of Krieg box of plastic models. You know, I think that's a great thing to be able to do with 3D printers, is to, you know, print out those parts that you need.
Especially with the Death Core, the new Death Core of Krieg models, they're freaking awesome.
Yeah, because I mean,
damn you, Games Workshop.
If you don't do that, you just got a load of arms that go in a waste, and you like, I'll use them at some point.
Yeah.
And then they don't ever see the light of day.
And you'll use maybe 5% of them, if that.
Exactly. So I'm all for that, like sort of keeping it all like nice, and it's a bit like kind of soothes my OCD. That it's like So, but yeah, so with the Dana Howell thing and the challenge, basically, I haven't bought any minis, so I didn't go up. You could only go up if you actually printed minis. So I went up by a couple. But I came in at minus 1,071.
Whoa!
How long was that over? Sorry,
3 months.
Jesus Christ!
Now wait. That
yeah. Throw in the caveat, Elston. Do you tell them how it got there?
Right. Okay. So now that's not.
There was 6 mil figures. Okay. Yeah. Zenithal Prime and then airbrush on contrast. Thank you very much. I'll see you all later.
Yeah, well, she basically set this one up for me completely, this entire challenge, because there were other rules for getting like bonus points or like bonus points. Right. So if you completed a box set, you got additional bonus points. Like if you completed a squad.
Oh yeah, because like your squad is an extra 2 points, isn't there? Extra 1 point.
So,
yep.
Stuff like that, or like 2-player starter set, you got X amount of things. But the real clinch on it of why I got so much is if you give a model away or do a commission, you get an extra point for each model.
You're a bastard. Yeah.
Now I could kind of a little bit hand on heart say I had those models before the challenge started, so I didn't get them in and then give them away again. So a little bit, but yeah.
So doing the math here. So you got 1,000, but you got 2 for 1, so that's 500, and they were all box sets. So it's about 200 miniatures you painted.
I painted 485.
That's still
it's still a fair number, isn't it?
That's huge. In 3 months, that's crazy.
I think I might have painted that ever.
So the real disco boy in the chat.
That's 25 years of painting.
Now, can I just, Viv?
Yeah, mate.
Don't get any ideas here. This is a terrible idea.
Stab him in the eye.
I want one of those t-shirts. I really want one of those t-shirts. Please do that.
Yes, Mike. Go on. What's the idea?
I was like, don't pick up this idea about getting us to paint 500 miniatures in 3 months.
Oh no,
as
no,
a challenge.
no, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. I'm having enough trouble trying to paint these 80, and then Elston comes on. He's like, just fucking do this, and they'll be done in 20 minutes. And I'm like,
7 hours later.
Yeah.
Just know what he said.
Yeah. Welcome back to our 4th 24-hour stream. I'm still working on my Minas Tirith figures.
Ed's still on the first 24 French.
So the real disco boy in the chat said, so he says, wait. So if I've got about 500 models in my pile of future victories, do I start at 0 or at plus 500 as they are already bought?
No, you start at 0.
Yeah, I think you just start at 0 and your objective is to paint through that.
Yeah.
But you can't keep starting at 0 every month. I just want to point that out. Kind of defeats the purpose.
It runs over like 3 months, so it's like they call it a season. But I've been told I'm not allowed to enter the second season, so I've got to wait until season 3 comes around. And then I was going
to ask you about that because you put up your video about it, and you said that they'd ended up changing some of the rules.
Yes. Commission painters. If they receive a commission in and then they paint it and give it away, that just sort of cancels itself out, so it's at 0.
Right.
So that's why I said I kind of validated myself, because those commissions I had were about a year old that I'd just been holding on to for a long time because of lockdown, and I was like, well, no one's playing any games, so I don't need to paint these right now.
Yeah.
And then everything started opening up, and I was like, oh no, I'm gonna do these.
Got to get it done. Yeah, I've got a couple of custom foam jobs in the studio that are like that. That at the moment, they're just sitting there on the back burner because nobody can come and get their figures. I can't send them out to anyone. Well, partly because I haven't done the foam, but they don't really need those figures. So I've been sitting on some of those for a while.
Cheeky.
Yeah. Do your job, Viv.
Yeah.
You haven't ordered any custom foam. Fuck.
There is also penalties if you buy box sets within like a 30-day release as well, so it swings the other way. So if you're like a big shiny syndrome person, there's like penalties for doing that as well.
Yeah. So what's your plan for the evening, Elston? Are you going to paint anything? Are you just relaxing after work, or?
I've got an ogre army here which I'm looking at, and I'm not doing any of my usual batch painting tricks on them. I'm just kind of picking them up one at a time and just painting them as and when they come, because it's all like skin tones, and I'm trying to do like wet blends on everything.
Are they the Games Workshop ogres?
Yeah, and we're going for old school fantasy square bases as well. So, a friend of mine has been teaching me Warhammer Fantasy, and I love it. More than I like Age of Sigmar. So, yeah. So I'm big into Warhammer Fantasy right now.
Awesome.
Yeah, I haven't really been following too closely what's happening with the what are they calling the new one?
Age of Sigmar?
No.
Oh, the
The Old World Reborn or whatever it's called.
Oh, yeah.
The New Times or whatever. But I am interested. I'm kind of keen to check it out. Fantasy was always the game that I started with, and I'm super keen to check it out. Chilling Wargamers is subscribed. I think that's the first time in the 15 hours of streaming there's been a break in the banter for me to actually say someone is subscribed.
That's my group. That's
well,
Spud doing that.
Yeah, like I said, the UK people are popping in now. Spray Black Studios is there in the chat. How are you going? Says, woohoo, Elston!
Yeah, a lot of people probably a little bit surprised. I did try and tell people that I'm showing up, but I usually show up a little bit unannounced in a lot of places. So everyone's like, oh, look, the weird little one showing up.
Here he is.
Yeah.
That bloke what paints models as fast as you can fucking blink your eyes is here again. Oh look, his overarmy's done. Oh, I'm just relaxing. Sorry, I don't know why I'm doing that terrible accent, but it just becomes my default. Take the piss.
Well, I think
every time. We've hit accent hour, haven't we? Can I start rolling out all the European nations, or am I going to get in trouble soon? I don't know.
No, you're absolutely fine. If I try and do any accent, it will turn into a Mongolian wizard. Any kind of accent apart from Mongolian wizard. That's all.
My wife turns into this weird Spanish-French hybrid. And I'm like, weren't you starting on Irish? And she's like, I don't know anymore.
The real really disco boy in the chat says it's called the old world. There we go. The old world.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, but it's a few years off. Ian Hoffman says, thanks for the 14 hours so far, everyone. I've posted lots of progress photos in the Axes and Ales Discord group. That's our gaming club's Discord group.
Should really join that.
Showing what I've gotten done while watching the stream. A very productive day all around.
Oh my god.
And then he's just posted, good luck for the next few hours. Hope to catch the end of the stream in the morning and see how high the fundraiser goes.
We will be so strung out. I'll be speaking in tongues. You may even get me to just start speaking random Japanese.
You are going to stay for the 24 hours, aren't you, Ed?
Sorry?
You are going to stay for the 24 hours, aren't you?
Fuck oath. Oh, yes, I am.
Tell Liz in the morning it's not my fault, all right? Just I want her to know that.
I'll just say, look, it was for charity. Sure, I could have gone to bed, but that'd be irresponsible to the people who've paid for me to do this. My excuse, I'm sticking to it. And it was nice knowing you all. If I don't show up in a while, I'd just like to warn you as well that my wife does work in family law, so she is a wily one. She's good at weaseling her way out of things and lawyering up. So, good luck trying to pin it on her.
We will say a prayer.
This is your last hurrah before child.
It pretty much is. Like, this is the baby moon, is me just sitting in a fucking shack out the back of the house painting toy soldiers for 24 hours straight and occasionally throwing darts because I basically I should be a grandfather in England. I've worked out, like, my hobbies, seriously. Just give me a pint and a pub and a dartboard and I'm set for hours, honestly.
And your Napoleonic figures. You've hit that milestone now. All right, I just want to make a quick announcement. It's 2:20, and I have finally finished doing 2 dry brushes and blocking out all the black on my
Hey! Nice. That took far too long. I mean, well done, Viv.
It took a fucking way longer than it needed to, but, you know, it was at a...
I thought my first 12 models were going to take like 8 hours. They took fucking 12. Damn you, French soldiers. You're so detailed. But it was second 9... I'm like, I reckon I'm maybe an hour if I'm going to do the eyes again because I'm an idiot. Yes, the eyes on Napoleon infantry. What the frickin' hell is wrong with me? Oh, that's a lot of rank and file troops. Is that, yep, okay, they've all got their eyes done. You're weird. Yep.
So John R is heading off, 2:20 a.m. Really need to get to bed. Thanks, everyone. It has been an excellent day of chill hobby.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
What a legend.
Oh, man, you guys can't even hear the shit tunes I'm playing right now. It's fantastic. Might even roll out. The more delirious I get, I've got a wonderful playlist titled Tragic 90s Doof. It is very tragic. It starts off with Corona, Rhythm of the Night.
Yeah.
I can't remember the group who did it, but Where Do You Go? My Lovely is in there. Which is No Mercy? No, I can't remember. Yeah, it's a great list. It really highlights just how messed up you are mentally when you listen to it, but that's okay.
So, like, is Dreamer in there? Oh, who sung Dreamer?
What was that? Sorry?
Dreamer. I'm a dreamer. Do you remember that? It was in that kind of Too Unlimited 90s phase of kind of weird techno pop.
Too Unlimited. I fucking love the fact that makes so much sense. I don't remember that one in particular. LaBouche is in there though. Be My Lover.
The real disco boy says Hadaway. What is love has to be on there.
Of course, it's in there. I mean, I was about to say, does the Pope touch kids? But he's proven no. Cardinal George Pell does. So.
No. Its opinions do not form part of the Painting for Life stream and are not endorsed by Knights of Dice or any of other contributors or the sponsors of the program.
Instant disclaimer.
Yeah, I just need to have it flashing on the screen every time my microphone activates. The drivel coming from Edward Jones's mouth is definitely not endorsed by Edward Jones himself and is not a reflection of his true character or nature. Edward would like to apologise, but currently he's frothing from the mouth and far, far, far too overtired to know what he's talking about.
I need to get paint. I've got to put my headphones down. I'll be back.
Oh no. Quick, he's gone. We can say things about him.
I blame the coffee, Ed. I reckon that's...
Yeah, I don't drink coffee anymore, so the fact that I've just done like a triple shot, I think, I don't really know how much coffee went in that little, the old Bialetti on the stovetop.
So how is the dart school going?
You know how I was saying I was in a bit of a funk the other day? I went back, just relaxed my form a bit, stopped stressing, and I've started hitting really good scores again. My doubles finishing is still rubbish. Yeah, when I say I like darts, I'm not taking the piss. Like, I genuinely love playing darts. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it's just been fun again. Just been relaxing again. So it's been really good.
You fit in right. Yeah, words. You fit in really well over here.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm basically just, an expat without actually having been born in the UK.
Amazing.
Talk some football.
Hey?
Talk some football.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
He's playing tonight, Man City and Chelsea.
Well, it's all kicked off there, hasn't it, now? All the sports are back on.
Yeah.
They heard on the BBC radio. They were basically because sports are all back on. Everyone started complaining again about sports and sports fans. You're like,
you see that ludicrous display last night?
that didn't take long, did it?
Yeah, literally like bing, instantly. Everyone can go back to normal. Complain.
Yeah.
It's just the default.
Who does this bloke think he is? Cristiano who? I don't know. He bloody come over here, reckons he's all that.
For the whole year, people are like, we just want to go outside and play sports and watch sports. And then the sports come back on. It's like, fuck the sport. These guys,
These guys are wankers. Can't believe I got season tickets to this absolute shit show.
Pretty good, actually.
I wasn't kidding when I said pick accents. That I'm doing.
We have well and truly hit the witching hour.
It'd be great actually if I can talk about Scotland, but I don't know how long I can get away with that.
That's not bad.
I'm just amazed that the French have got off very lightly in today's podcast.
Yeah, it was German earlier on.
Yeah, they were doing the Germans, and you can do a camp German, which is very fun time, yeah, especially when they want to pick up the handy. That's German for mobile phone. It's wunderbar. Und then you can be very serious German. Yeah, I work for Volkswagen Automotive Group. It's a great time to be alive, I work 28 hours a day. No, say what you want. Volkswagen make pretty damn good cars, so not really fault them too much. They're getting very expensive in Australia. Again.
If you can get one.
True.
Yeah, super hard to get cars here at the moment. Super hard to get anything in Australia. Elston, what brush cleaner do you use?
I use Broken Toad. Where is it?
God, I thought you were about to say broken children or something. That's terrible.
Look at the size of that brush. See, I'm one of those schmucks who, before Broken Toad started making all their cool stuff, everyone was like, get the Masters. So I've got like this tiny little tub of Masters, but now I've seen that fucking giant
Masters.
tub
there you go.
from Broken Toad.
Masters is good though. I actually probably should use it more often. I've gone to Raphael brushes here in Australia because Broken Toad, I couldn't find any locally. And they've been pretty good so far, I have to say.
Distributor? There's a local Australian distributor for Broken Toad.
Oh, no. I mean, as in within my 5Ks because I couldn't be bothered online for it.
We've got a question in the chat here for you, Elston, from Spray Black. Black Studios. Elston, have you started talking about Future Man yet?
Oh, right. Probably a little bit of context here. Has anyone seen the program Future Man on Amazon Prime?
No.
No. Okay. Right.
Resounding result of no there. Yeah.
It's if you kind of like the comedy of like Seth Rogen combined with like 80s nostalgia, done in a relatively high budget, that is absolutely ridiculous. It's right up your alley. I love it.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it's got that guy who was in the Hunger Games, the kid who betrayed them or whatever. He's like the main guy. But he works in a herpes laboratory science building. So they're trying to find a cure for herpes. And the way they do that is by making possums ejaculate, and then they're trying to find a cure from that somehow. So there's just, but the possums get ejaculated until they die. So there's just bins of dead possums.
Oh man, it's funny, isn't it? That you can actually sell a show by talking like that. But,
yeah, the whole premise is he plays a computer game that no one's ever won, and he wins it, and then that effectively a challenge for 2 time-traveling warriors to come back, because he is apparently the chosen one. Then they have to start training him to be the chosen one. It's absolutely ridiculous, but it's really quite high budget, so it's really quite entertaining. There's also time-traveling Osama bin Laden.
I'm so in.
Is this a series or a movie?
Yeah,
it's a series.
There's 3 seasons on Amazon Prime called Future Man.
3 seasons.
Yeah.
I think I've seen some. Yeah.
It's absolutely horrific. But Spray Black is. I started watching it, and I run a podcast with the Chin and War Gamers on Thursday evening, and I started talking about it, and everyone thought I was insane. And then Spray Black watched it, and he's like, "Actually, no, Elston's onto something here." And it's kind of started this little.
He's not just smoking crack, guys. This is seriously good stuff. So is the crack he's smoking, but this is also great.
Oh well, look, we're crossing borders here now. I'm going to check that out after the stream. Jump on there.
I thought you were about to sound. I'm so done. I'm so sorry.
I'll jump on there.
Oh no.
Nathan Shuttleworth says in the chat, I thought Ed was going to do German accents. We got there in the end. We did get there. There's no need to start again, Ed. We got there.
No, I think
are you sure? I can start at the drop of a Deutschmark anytime you want. Yeah.
Spray Black Studios does say they are some good accents with an exclamation mark.
I haven't even got onto any of the other countries yet. We could do the French, which I'm doing right now. They're always good fun to take the piss out of.
So here we go. Frederick Schultz. He was joined us at the very beginning of the stream from Germany. He went to work, went to bed. Now he's back, and here he is. He says Volkswagen is pronounced Volkswagen.
Volkswagen. Yes, it is. Volkswagen. I beg your pardon. You are correct.
Need to work a little on that German accent, not Volkswagen.
Volkswagen, you dickhead, you bloody Volkswagen Touareg, eh?
Get in your fucking V-dub, mate. Fuck off.
Yeah, pretty much. I apologize.
Spray Black says Future Man is the greatest show of all time. All right, well, there we go. We're in.
Wow, we've definitely escalated quite quickly there. It's gone from hey, it's a good watch, you should tune in, to do it or you should die. It's the best thing ever.
Nathan Shuttleworth says, why do I want that show to be a board game?
Yeah, that was. Yeah, wait till you see the whole thing, and then
and then pass your judgment.
Yeah.
Feel like 7 TV will have that as part of their range if it's good enough.
I'll tell you what, if they did, I'd be that
all over it like a fat kid in a cupcake. Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's no words to describe how excited I would be.
So your ogres that you're working on at the moment, Elston, they are your own?
Yes, yeah. I after that Dana Howe challenge, I actually finished up most of my commissions. I've got a couple of Blood Bowl teams that I need to do, but for a friend of mine, so they're not. He basically doesn't paint anymore, and I don't charge him money, so it's not really a commission, but it kind of is. And
this ties back earlier on to the stream where we were saying creatives don't value their time and effort and give lots of stuff away.
Yeah, all the time. I even mentioned it on my video. It was like, I do commissions. I usually undercharge myself or rarely get paid at all.
Yeah.
So it's been fun, like painting them up just for. I think that's why I'm taking my time with them a bit more. I'm not. It's not a job.
Yeah, there's yeah.
There's no pressure. You can just relax and lose yourself in it a bit, which is just always lovely.
Yeah, and plus I've just been painting solidly for 3 months, so I'm just slowing down a little bit for get my
wind it back a little bit.
Yeah, I was just getting a little bit like prepared for season 3. You know, you've got to have a little bit of a rest period between training.
I was gonna say, yeah, let's face it, there's no point pushing too hard if you're not in it to win it. So.
I gotta say, I think we really have started something, and I'm gonna do my best to really carry it on.
Okay.
What, stab in the eye?
I've lost it in the chat. Here we go. The Real Disco Boy says, if you don't watch it, stab yourself in the eye.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yep.
I'm carrying it on. Carrying it on. All right, I'm going to go change my rinse water. I'll be back in a minute.
I mean, we were kind of potentially talking about old school YouTube stuff, but I think that's been distracted by awesome TV shows and painting. So I'm happy with that.
So, Elston, you were saying you do a podcast with the Chilling
Wargamers. Yeah, they should be in the chat. I've been running it for 4 years now. Something like that, 4 or 5 years, with another guy called Spud. It obviously that's not his real name, but me and him basically been every Thursday evening-ish. Sometimes we're just lazy and we don't show up. We show up, we intend to talk about a topic, but we usually don't achieve that goal. And lasts about an hour.
Like tonight.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it sounds like a standard evening with Viv.
What's this? Yeah, is this the Chilling Wargamers live stream with hand puppets?
Yeah, Socky. I don't know what was going on that night. It was just like started making doing that with my hand and coming up with a voice, and then it became this alter ego Socky that's just really obnoxious and stuff. And I was like, how have I created this? Yeah, as I said, it's basically a podcast where we try and talk about wargaming, usually fails, and something else happens.
Recreate sock puppets, apparently.
Yeah, exactly.
Or hand puppets.
Yeah, exactly. Recently, I say recently, about a year ago, we had a new guy join us called Pickle from a channel called The Pickle Jar. And
I love it.
Of course. Yeah. And yeah, so for example, the other day, Spud had to go let his dog out to the toilet, so me and Pickle hid under our tables and had a conversation. It's very bizarre. Go watch it. It's hard to describe magic.
I enjoyed that episode after I was caught you on your live stream, Elston. And you said go watch the Chilling Wargamers. We had a great fun, and yeah, just towards the end bit there, where you two hiding off camera, giggling like little school children, and waiting for Spud, to come back. Like, shh, I can hear him coming, and then they'll be chuckling and giggling, and then like a little hand will appear on screen. I was like, and then Spud comes back and he's like, great. So everyone who was watching the stream's now gone. Thanks very much, guys. I know exactly what you're doing. Yeah.
It was a wonderful experience. So yeah, if anyone's interested on a funny little bit of entertainment on the internet, go check out Chilling Wargamers. It's really entertaining.
It's good fun. I've mentioned it a few times during the stream that obviously because of the time difference between us, I very rarely get to catch any of the UK streams live. But one of the things that I really do love about it, and I haven't seen much of it happening here in Australia, is that it creates just a little community of people who you can put something on, and certainly in this time at the moment for us, at least here where we can't go fucking anywhere, we can't fucking do anything, it still allows you to be connected to somebody else in real time. It's live. I can jump into the hey, Pickle's in the chat right now. Hey Pickle, how you going? Hand puppets not included. Where we can help it. Thanks for dropping in, Pickle. It creates that environment where that I'm chilling out with somebody else. They are actually there on the other side of the screen. They're talking at the same time I'm chatting. We can have a little bit of interaction and a little bit of to and fro, and it creates that connection whilst we're all completely separated from each other.
Yeah, I find it's like recent during lockdown and stuff. We connected with a guy, YouTube channel called the Crazy Crafter. Words come to me.
No, Crazy Crafter. Yeah.
Come on, man. You haven't been painting for 16 hours straight.
So Colin's over in the States, and he's he is just this bundle of positive energy.
Yeah, he's
so infectious, and it's been so cool catching up with him, and he's kind of unlocked all these other people that we've got to know. So Nat One videos, and they've all basically become friends, and it's this great thing of just expanding. I really wish Australia was not the other side of the planet, because the Australian live
yes, us filthy Antipodeans. It makes it difficult.
I mean, if I can move the UK around there, I would, because our weather is shit. So, I'd happily move it over that way. What can
feel the rain of an English summer. Yep.
Yeah. It's basically, if you ever want to predict, plan a barbecue in the UK, it's kind of like a 50-50.
Well, that's like planning a barbecue here in Melbourne, right? You wake up in the morning and it will be 19 degrees and sunny, and by the afternoon it's pissing down with rain, and and it's 7 degrees.
I'm gonna have to actually take a visit. My uncle lives in Melbourne, so he lives somewhere in the sticks. I remember going to visit him once. It was this big long road, and then he turned off into what I guess was a road, and it just went down this track, and then there was this farm, and I was like, right, okay, this is where my uncle lives. And then he's got this thing with wild cats. That's apparently a thing where he lives. There's wild cats everywhere, and he doesn't like them, so he catches them, and then you don't want to know what happens next.
Well, like normal, regular feral cats. You're not talking about lions and shit like that, right?
No. Not like
Werribee Zoo.
yeah. That was actually a zoo, and
it was like a super surreal experience as well, because he looks like my dad, but he's got less teeth, and he's got an Australian accent, and I'm like, this is weird. It was really fun going over there. It's just the other side of the planet, and taking 2 stops on a plane is sometimes a bit.
But it's arse end of the world, as one of our politicians famously said.
Come to some areas in Britain, and I think we can maybe contend with that. We were going to talk about old school YouTube, weren't we, Viv?
Yeah. I was just about to lead into that. I was saying I've been watching the Crazy Crafter, and obviously live streams and stuff. They're much more popular now. It's much easier for us to do that. But back in the day, right? We were talking about this when you were live. You finished up there on a key thing. You said, just as you were finishing up, back then, a decade ago, the hobby community on YouTube, back then it was about, the hobby, not the editing. And, as we left that stream, I was like, there's so many wonderful channels out there with so much hobby content, that it's easy to, get wrapped up in the really high production channels. Not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with the high production channels. I think it's absolutely amazing. And it's wonderful. People like Guy at Midwinter Minis, and, all these other huge channels and stuff, it's so good to see. It's given us, some really entertaining content. But, it's a completely different world than it used to be.
It's interesting. I had a look, and I found out my channel was 9 years old this month.
Oh wow!
I was just like, "Oh, I've been doing this a long time."
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting to see, because I haven't really been active on YouTube for quite a while. Back when I sort of was stopped uploading regular videos, we hadn't really reached that massive peak. I think when I left, maybe Luke was just coming onto the scene. Oh no, maybe just before Luke. Maybe Mel, the terrain tutor, he was probably at that stage, outside of Mini Wargaming, one of the channels that started to to skyrocket up in into subscribers and the subscriber numbers. And then I didn't have anything to do with YouTube for a couple of years. I'd post a bit of random shit every now and then on my Rubbish In Rubbish Out channel, but I wasn't really watching a lot of YouTube. I really wasn't trying to fit into the algorithm or upload regularly. I was just sharing stuff, and it wasn't until maybe a year or so ago, maybe even less, that I was like, I'm going to really start getting back into YouTube. I made that decision. I put up my video on Rubbish In and Rubbish Out saying, I'm going to stop uploading on this channel. I'm just going to concentrate on my Knights of Dice channel and upload content there. It wasn't until that point when I was like, what the fuck's happened to YouTube, man? I'm looking up all these old channels, they're all inactive, for 6 years or 7 years. And, every video I go past, there's, another, mega channel, 250,000 subscribers, 160,000 subscribers with this beautiful content. And I got to admit that there was a part of me that was like, this is fucking amazing. Look at this cool shit. and then another part of me was like, fuck these cunts. I've been doing this for 13 years, motherfucker. Fancy polishing with your fucking, get into the studio with me and we'll fucking get some crafting.
Lego Man's not on this time of night.
Let's get some crafting knives out in my studio and see who can actually make terrain, right? Because, and I was bitter.
Hey, Viv, tell us how you really feel, mate. Don't mince words.
I was fucking bitter.
Let it go.
Yeah.
Also, Western Tabletop, who's been with us for a long part of the day, is just ducked off to bed. Thank you, mate.
Here he
and
goes.
Apparently we need to ask you about badgers or lions, Elston.
All right.
Have a guess who asked that.
I'm going to say pickle by chance.
And spray back for that matter.
Yeah. So just a quick tangent before we go back onto your. If you ever go ask someone from Yorkshire to say badges, as in the plural for a badge that you would wear, and badgers, as in the furry animal, and it comes out the same.
Badges and badges.
Badges and badges. And Pickle said it on a stream, and I had to check with him. It lasted about 20 minutes. I was like, "Are you saying the same thing that I'm saying?" Anyway, little tangent. Over to you, Viv. Yes, I know what you're talking about with the
and so I just I think it's a wonderful thing to see, but at the same time, there's still a little bit of me that's just like and that's I had that I had a mild breakdown a couple of months ago, and it really did lead to my motivation to try and make this stream this massive charity fundraiser it has been, and part of that at the beginning of that, or a week or two into it, I put up that video on YouTube saying it's fucking time to remember who I am. And, I ranted on saying I don't have fucking time to be making videos. I don't have time for 20 different camera angles, and had a bit of a rant and carried on. But I enjoy making videos like that. I do enjoy setting up a shot. I don't have time for fancy lights and stuff, so my stuff will never be beautifully lit. Like the videos from 52 Miniatures, his videos are next level cinematic stuff, just gorgeous. I love it. I don't have time for that, but I do enjoy setting up the multiple camera angles and filming. I enjoy the editing process. It's a fun experience, but
it's fun to make a story out of something which ends up being a very dull process. In other words, it could, if you were just to film the process without cutting jump cuts and all that stuff, it's got this out, I started clipping here, and I got my glue, and I appreciate that you've probably gone through the same thing I've gone through, where that was all the content that was on YouTube for hobby stuff about 7 years ago. Minimal editing, but you were always looking for the hobby tips. That was all it was. You're like, right, cool. Oh, he's got a new model. And unboxings were a much bigger thing back then.
Sure.
It's a very I've been through a similar process as well, and it's the jealousy factor as well, seeing other people.
Yeah.
As you say, you're just like, come on, what am I doing wrong?
You know,
and then you look and you're like, oh, I see what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't mean to deride anyone's success because, you know, obviously they've spent, you know, a significantly more amount of time, you know, setting up their shots and, you know, filming it and editing it. And, you know, here I'm like, put my fucking 10-year-old handy cam on, fucking here, glue this shit to this and you'll be right. Fucking put it on YouTube and, you know, where's my fucking 100,000 views on that video? Of course it's not going to happen. But, you know, it's a different place, and I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just, you know, I don't think I ever would have thought, and we touched on this briefly during your stream, that we would see these mega channels in our hobby. No,
and it's the speed at which they've come about is the phenomenal thing. So like Midwinter Minis, was it like a year and a half, maybe 2 years old?
Yeah, I think it was 2 years. 2-year birthday.
Yeah, and that's like 250,000 subscribers. And if you remember back in the day, so the other contender for mini wargaming back in the day was Beasts of War.
Yeah, sure. So, well, yeah.
And the interesting thing about Beasts of War as well is I think they're going through a similar aspect as what we've done, but possibly on a more tricky scale because they have like a business to run with it. They're getting a little bit left in the dust in comparison to like Miniac, Midwinter Mini, Squidman, all that lot.
Sure, yeah.
And I kind of feel bad for them because it was really a thing. I used to really enjoy watching The Weekender. It was always a thing, but I've been spoiled by this extra level entertainment now.
Yeah,
where The Weekender is no longer this appealing thing as much.
I remember. This is one of those. Do you remember where you were when sort of stories? And I used to live around the corner in Northcote on Victoria Road. There at the time I was working, for our software business, and I'd come home, put some YouTube on, and it was the first video that Beasts of War had put up, and it was like unlike anything else. Properly, it had an intro. It had music. It had, you know, proper. You know, it was produced. It was a produced video, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And where the hell did these guys come from? Because, you know, it wasn't like a lot of us have evolved our channels, you know, starting off, you know, with my web camera, and then I'll buy, you know, a camera, maybe I'll buy a microphone, then I'll get a light. You know, it wasn't like a lot of us that, you know, went through that growth stage as, you know, we got more and more into it. They were just like, bam, here we are. And, you know, it was pretty much, you know, overnight that, you know, Beast of War started, you know, really taking off because they were the first one, you know, at least for me, you know, a decade ago, that was, you know, the entertainment on YouTube. It wasn't just, you know, hobby or tutorials or tips. It was entertainment. And you know, that's how I break things down now on YouTube is, you know, are you a tutorial channel? Are you an entertainment channel? Are you an information channel? And it was just, you know, that was the first time that I remember seeing on YouTube, you know, these produced channels for entertainment, and that, you know, it's just gone crazy from there.
What I find most interesting now is with YouTube, because it is now actually the possibility of a full-time career, which back then it wasn't. Like Beast of War had to do like a lot of things. They had like the backstage and all that lot, XLDS and all that lot. So they had to do extra things to get the payroll in, which is basically Patreon now.
Yes.
With all the channels and everything like that, and this is kind of where the issue lies from, and you probably feel it the same, I'm thinking, is the pressure to keep up that content because you have to have that strategy that the algorithm
burns
has
people
to know
out really bad.
And this was something that, you know, on my YouTube adventure, you know, my YouTube channel, Rubbish In Rubbish Out, I created, believe it or not, Elston in 2006.
Wow.
I've been on this up and down journey on YouTube, and you know, a couple of years ago, I started uploading a bit more regularly to my Rubbish In Rubbish Out channel, and you know, I'd get 200 views, 300 views in the first 24 hours, and then I'd be like, "What the fuck is going on here?" Fucking, you know, back in the day, you know, I'd upload a video and I'd have 3,000 views in the first 24 hours, and I'm like, "What?" And then, you know, I start hearing this, you know, algorithm. And I'm like,
all hail the algorithm.
I'm like, oh, of course, there's some sort of algorithm here. You know, of the 19,000 people that subscribe to that channel, you know, 50 of them are getting notified that I uploaded a video. You know, 12,000 of those subscribers probably don't exist on YouTube anymore. Yep. And, you know, I don't exist within that algorithm. So, you know, from that pressure point that you just mentioned, you know, if you want to stay relevant and you want to stay current and you want to build a following, you've got to fit inside that algorithm, which then, you know, builds pressure. And, unfortunately, Trent from Miscast, you know, I couldn't fix a time with him to pop on, and he said he would pop on at some stage, but obviously we've missed him. He uploaded a video a couple of months ago, you know, talking about sort of this issue of, you know, trying to produce videos for the sake of producing videos, or producing a video that I think you guys will want to watch and will get enough views to keep me relevant. And, you know, I've had enough of that pressure of that, you know, doing it because I have to, and sort of switched his tack a little bit to saying, you know, follow me along on my hobby journey. It
kind of the similar kind of thing I've taken a tact with as well, as because my channel is effectively dead in the YouTube waters for a couple of reasons, but one is I took 2 years off to help run Chilling Wargamers, so I actually jumped into another channel. It didn't really work out. We were kind of pressuring each other to make videos, and we realized, well, we're friends, we don't really want to do that.
Well, Chilling Wargamers, I'll just jump in there for a second. Chilling Wargamers sort of it started at the back end of, you know, some of the other networks that were happening at the time. You know, what was Chung's network? He had
it was like Ichiban and Wargamers Consortium.
The WGC. And they were pulling together a consortium. I mean, you know, they had all these channels promoting each other and stuff. And Lester Bursley, you guys were talking about him the other day. You know, he was there.
Tabletop Minions was a part of the Wargamers Consortium.
I
remember that because it used to be at the end of his videos, and I was like, oh
yeah. And then, you know, I saw, you know, Spud and you guys, and, you know, starting up this Chilling Wargamers network.
Yeah, that's been its own. I've tried my influence on it as much as I want to, and it's probably going to come across bad. Is I've tried to make sure that stays a family as much as humanly possible, because it can become a business, and that's fine. If its goal was to be a business, then fine, we can push down that rabbit hole. But if it's a business, you need to make business-like decisions, and therefore possibly the business comes before
it stops being a hobby, and it stops being something that you enjoy socially. And, you know, that touches on you know, what we were you know, talking about, you know, 14 hours ago towards the beginning of the stream, when you know, one of the guys in the chat said you don't need to monetize. You shouldn't have to feel the need. In fact, I think you mentioned this, Mike. Was this you? You shouldn't have to feel the need to monetize your content.
I think it was Brad, but it was that idea of, if you want to, that's okay.
Yeah, it was Brad.
Right? But it's the need to.
Yeah. And so, you know, keeping
it's a bizarre obligation that you feel like you have to make money off something, which in reality is meant to be either an outlet or should be compartmentalized so you can still enjoy it without losing the love for it.
Exactly. And I think this is where an interesting concept, I think, comes out, possibly from the newer YouTubers, because I've heard it being said, is from older generation of YouTubers. They view, because there's so much fondness that I have for the old days and the old ways it was, is they look at us as old men. They're like, it was better back in the day with YouTube. I just got a camera out and I filmed this. It was fucking awesome.
I filmed this on my VCR. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Bloody camcorder. There we go. Fucking hell. It fell apart, didn't it?
It's really not. It's not better. It's not worse. It was a different time. It's just that generation of what it was. It was magical back then because everything was new. It was like cool. Yeah. But the new stuff now is entertainment. It is fun to watch. and it's weird transitioning from being that old person that just filmed on his VCR to like, oh crap, now I've got to edit this, I've got to cut this, I've got to do this, I've got to say this to the camera for some reason that I don't know why. Cut that out, put the sound over there, do this, and there's all of this stuff that goes with it. And as soon as you can go get your head around it, it's fun.
Yeah,
because you realize the story you can make.
Yeah.
I think possibly maybe for us older generation, maybe we don't look at it as a business. It's like, this is another hobby. Maybe we don't push so much as maybe the younger generation that are fighting for, like, I can make this my job. And
yeah, exactly. I'm just one of those disgruntled old men, who'd been there, had my own go, and I was like, no, all these fucking,
I was there at the beginning.
All these fucking kids are raking in the money here, fucking.
But that could have been also a big misnomer, I think. Like, a lot of them are still having to supplement their income through Patreon to make sure that they can have a minimum amount, because the almighty and all-knowing algorithm will sometimes decide to fuck them on a month. Or on a video.
I follow a bunch of big streaming channels and or streaming advice channels, and it's all about that. I'm just going to jump into the chat real quick. Mark Newman is heading off. 17 hours, 16 figures painted, sounds bases, and a bunch of undercoated. And I'm done. Night, Viv, and all. Lovely to see and hear you all. Done me a world of good. Thanks, mate. Thanks for tuning in.
Hi, Mark.
Come on, Mark.
Brown Tail's tuned back in and just subscribed. Thanks, mate. He said, "Old men, I'm 57. Now I feel ancient." Hope you guys are all holding up fine. And Pickle says to ask Elston at Elston. He mentioned something that says, what does it say? It says, like people that just do top-down vids showing off one sprue. And a winky
unboxing. Unboxings.
Yeah. And that they were saying, that you can't just make money off YouTube. It doesn't matter how big your channel is. The bigger your channel grows, the more expenses it comes with. It's like any type of business. The bigger it grows, the more expenses you have. And the bigger your channel goes, you might start bringing on, extra crew, cameramen, an editor, maybe a producer or something like that for really big channels. You end up with this team of people that you need to support. And YouTube is just one part of that business model. You have your YouTube, you have your merch, your Twitter stream your Twitch stream where Twitch has all those weird fucking monetization things I don't understand with bits and chats.
Twitch is its own beast. Let's not even bring that up.
All that sort of stuff. Patreon, and then your website where you've got all your merch and stuff. This whole thing is and your sponsorships, obviously. And you see that now in all the big channels. Sponsorships. Helping to pay. Pay the bills. It really is. That business.
As we said when Lockie was on, yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Fucking shoot me. It's your boy.
I think that leads quite nicely into my aspect of the thing which I'm always trying to hold on to is like, this is my hobby.
Yeah.
I'm weighing it up, and I'm stuck between this dilemma of like, it'd be cool to be a big YouTuber, and it'd be cool to do this as my living. But at the same time, I don't want this to be my job.
Well, yeah, it's interesting
you have the same epiphany, Viv.
Well, yeah, a little bit. Yeah, well, I stopped YouTube basically. I didn't make YouTube my job. I turned my passion.
You made
for
it your bitch. Okay, no, I've taken that the wrong way. Sorry.
My journey was just a massive segue out of what I was planning to do, because I'm just a fucking let's do fucking this crazy thing. All right, yeah, great. Let's buy some laser cutters. I'd never wanted to do that. I wanted to learn to sculpt. I wanted to learn to make my own miniatures and cast them. But somehow I've ended up with $500,000 worth of lasers and a fucking laser cutting business. I don't. But it's interesting that you mentioned that, Elston, because I've seen a video recently from Guy at Midwinter. I saw a video from Lockie and another big channel that I can't remember. But they were question and answer type videos. And the response to the question, do you ever paint things for yourself?
Yeah.
And the answer was no, not really. I don't paint anything that's not on camera anymore. Because, I need to produce the content, I don't have the time. I'm busy producing other content they don't have the time anymore to, paint miniatures for themselves or enjoy the hobby.
Which is where people like myself, where I kind of put the balance of hobby over the balance of making a video. The video is very secondary compared to me doing my hobby.
Yeah.
I will never fit into the algorithm's wonderful promote you kind of thing, because I'm just like, I'm going to paint thousands of miniatures, and I'll do a video about it once I've found it some time. But yeah. Then that's about it, basically.
Yeah.
All hail the algorithm.
But again, it's the weird thing is like it's a very mixed bag, and I don't. If anyone's looking into doing YouTube and stuff like that as a full-time career and stuff like that, I don't want to put people off of it, because if you get to paint minis for a living and do it, and you get to work from home and all those things happen, awesome. But all I could say to anyone that is looking down that avenue is it's a hell of a lot of work, because most people I see that do it say it's like a 60-hour week standard.
Yeah.
And you're like,
minimum.
Yeah. Guy mentioned that in his video. You know, I'd watched something, and you know, his Q&A, I think from last year or something, was next in the recommended viewing, and you know, YouTube just keeps playing things until you tell it to fucking stop playing videos. And he'd mentioned that.
I need to keep saying it. We need to have that on a t-shirt. All hail,
the algorithm.
Yes.
Yeah, we've gotten into the merch hours here at the twilight stages of the stream, where
just throwing darts and talking shit. It's a regular Friday night for me now.
And he was saying, you know, it's not uncommon to spend 16 hours a day, you know, working, you know, editing things, writing scripts, you know, all that sort of stuff to, you know, keep the channel, you know, going and relevant to the algorithm.
Can we do stab the algorithm in the eye t-shirt?
Yeah.
JP's gonna get up in the morning and go, what the fuck happened to you guys? Where do we start, JP?
Carl Makes Stuff in the chat says, I don't know. In my opinion, the minute money is involved, it becomes a commitment, and it's no longer going to have the same relaxation value.
Exactly.
Nah.
Yeah.
If you
rely on it, if it's pocket money that it's just a bonus, a perk, then you're like, cool. But if you are equating that into your salary, and you need that to live, or do you need that to do this and that, then the pressure comes back, because
it's definitely a balancing game for sure.
I want to touch back on these mega channels for a second. You know, Carl Makes Stuff is in the chat. He left that comment. Carl has a great YouTube channel. You know, it's really fun to watch, and you know, really, really interesting. I want to know where all these people have come from. Not Carl. I'm talking about the viewers, the subscribers. You know, because you know, back in, you know, I said to you during your stream, you know, back in the day, 20,000, and you were a fucking superstar. And it hasn't been that long since then, but all of a sudden, you know, there's channels around that, you know, with 500,000, you know, 250,000 subscribers. You know, where have all of these additional people come from? Is it just people, you know, I'd be interested to see some analytics. That my average age range falls around 44. So anyone who's watching me now was probably watching me 10 years ago. But for these mega channels, what does their audience look like? Because if it's made up of lower numbers, then that kind of explains to me a little bit that, you know, these younger people who were around, you know, 10 years ago, but were too young, have now become, you know, they're now consuming content on YouTube.
Yeah.
I was in a comment on that earlier, actually. I think it's one of the reasons that Beasts of War hasn't had the success that you're seeing from a lot of these younger YouTubers, is because they're actually a lot more approachable. They're reminding people a lot more of themselves, as opposed to the, you know, the on tabletop / Beasts of War guys, who are fantastic proponents and spruikers of the model community, but they're kind of an old cutout of what the stereotypical wargaming nerd is. And a lot of people don't see themselves in that, which, you know, is neither here nor there. It just is what it is. And you look at these guys like Miniac, who's just, you know, he's a pretty cool dude from the States who does really cool models and takes far too long to paint them. He'll be the first one to admit that. You look at Emil from Age of Squidmar. He is an ex-professional photographer, so he's immediately got a leg up on most people on knowing how to do lighting and filming. His ability to do that is why his videos, you know, always look fantastic. And you know, again, he's making sure his Patreon is supplementing the income because, as you were saying, Viv, he's got more people to hire, etc. But again, he's a young, cool guy. He used to play and tour around Europe in a metal band. You know, these are very different people that are coming into the hobby and they go, hey, this guy's kind of cool, or this chick's really cool. She's doing really cool things. And I kind of see myself in them a bit more. Yeah. As opposed to this studio approach, which just, you know, Beasts of War, again, did such an amazing thing. They built up a studio. They had amazing hobby days and tournaments and stuff they ran. But it's almost like an old-fashioned model, whereas these other people seem more approachable and more like, you know, this is someone who could be next door. It's that person next door mentality as well, I reckon.
Yeah, you know,
that could be me.
Like if you live next door, you'd get me. Get me into naps a lot earlier than bloody JP did. I'll tell you that much. But anyway,
it's an interesting perspective. Sorry, Elston, just to jump in. You know, I saw you were about to say something. You know, because of all of these channels, they are an individual person. You know,
you look at Guy. He's the one I forgot. Sorry, he's such an approachable dude.
Yeah, you know,
he's just the most chill, relaxed, super positive.
Yeah. Whereas, you know, Beast of War, you know, on tabletop, you know, they are in a studio. There's multiple people involved. You know, it's more of a studio type of environment rather than, you know, that individual person. And as Ed said, I can see myself in that person. That could be me, or I could do that sort of thing.
I mean, don't take that literally. That's a bit forward. Take it to dinner first. See how things go.
I'm thinking it's something possibly a bit larger than the scope that I've originally been thinking of, because I generally think I'm a generation behind. There's a new generation below me. I'm in my mid-30s, and there is a generation below me,
100%,
which has been brought up completely on computers.
Yeah.
We're of the generation that can still code computers. They're of the generation that only knows how to use pre-programmed stuff. They're getting spoon-fed things because they've always grown up with it. So
exactly. They've always grown up with a mobile phone. I feel old just saying this stuff. It makes me cringe.
Did you have your Nokia brick as well?
Yes, I had the Nokia brick. It was amazing, and I was like, I can play Snake on this.
Yeah,
and it was so good. Like when the Matrix came out and the 7110, the little flip thing.
Holy shit! We all wanted one so bad.
I had one. I was.
Oh my god!
I was just like, look at this. Click. And and it's this whole technology jump, which my generation is seeing this whole like weird, like, I remember when there wasn't the internet, and I'm like, great, I sound like my dad.
You're back in my day.
I think it's a really relevant observation, is that, you know, there is a whole generation of people out there that have only ever been, you know, connected, you know, they haven't, you know, had to go and play outside because there was nothing on the TV, or, you know, Channel 7 had stopped broadcasting.
Yeah, I remember when mobile phones are coming in high school in year 10 and 11, you know?
Yeah, that, you know, nowadays, like my daughter, she's only 7, and by God, I swear to God, you know, she was swiping things on a mobile phone at 2 months old. You know, she just knows, you know, you give her a device like the iPad. God, you say you're feeling old, you know, Elson, I'm mid-40s, and, you know, my daughter was like, just give me the iPad, Dad, I'll do it. And, you know, she's 7 years old. Couple of comments here. Spray Black says, being a miniature painting YouTuber that wants to try and make it is like climbing a mountain with no legs. It's a huge challenge that requires a huge amount of work, and, you know, it does become a job. And Carl Makes Stuff says he's not sure, but I noticed a lot of lapsed gamers come out of hibernation in the last 5 to 6 years.
Yeah, I think this goes back to what Ryan, who is a brick man here in Australia, Elston, just saying what the hell we're talking about. Actually, probably didn't explain anything. He does a TV show for Lego Masters over here. Anyway, he was pointing out that, you know, you've also, to your point, they're coming out of hibernation with a lot of disposable income. You know, I think my hobby was limited in my late 20s and mid 20s to sort of skirmish. I was just playing Infinity because, you know, back then, especially, it was like, I spend $100 Australian, you know, about £50. You can pick up a game. Pick up a force that you can do a tournament with. It was great. Whereas now I'm like, holy shit, I've got all this extra money. I'm like actually doing okay at work now. I'm confident in myself. I can reward myself. Let's just splash $600 on Napoleonics because I'm a dickhead. Like, when the hell am I going to paint all this stuff? I work my ass off all the time, you know? But, and that nostalgia thing that GW is capitalizing on something fierce. You know, you look at their specialist games in the last decade, and they were a withering stump of a department, and they're just getting truckloads of cash thrown at them to just reel out more and more nostalgia trains. Like, when's BFG coming? We already mentioned earlier tonight. I reckon 80% of us are absolutely fucked when that game comes out. I've just you know, I'll sell the car. I'll do whatever I have to. Just get me on board. Inject it into my veins. It's going to be great. And yeah, that's where I think our generation has come back in big time. And the younger generation, they don't have the stigma.
The nostalgia effect.
Yeah.
Of you're a tabletop gaming nerd. It's like, you freaking get, like, you know, 15-year-old girls now happily talking about how awesome they are at Magic the Gathering. You're going, we were sequestered in a library away from the other children, you know?
Yeah.
They had hazmat suits when they came to get us when the bell went. Like, it was just, we were a different breed. It's just, it's great. Don't get me wrong. I think it's fantastic. But yeah, I reckon that's also the generational gap.
Yeah, so maybe that is the answer to where all these other people have come from. The new well, actually, here's another thought as well, is the generation, our generation, are all having children.
Yep.
And you impart onto your children what your likes and interests are. They may not necessarily bite, and they may not take it. They might do their own thing their own way, but there's something to be said when you're growing up and you see something as you're growing up that it stays in your memory, and you just, as you get older. So I remember my first Games Workshop stuff was friends down the road. They played Warhammer Fantasy Battles, and it was Goblins and Skaven, and it's got such a like visceral emotion stored within me. It's just on one of those like roll out flock green mats, you know, where you touch it and it goes everywhere. And you just nothing's painted, it's all metal and they're all lead, so you're definitely gonna get poisoned.
You can't see shit. Just saying before else, you know, we're looking at our first models. You know, I painted that 25 years ago on my 10th birthday. Like, and here I am with hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of Primera Space Marines because the bastards got their hooks back in me. Even as an ex-GW employee, I still went, oh, it's not that too expensive. I'll just buy it anyway.
But, I mean, I've kind of taken it a little bit to the extreme on mine. So I'm building an extension on my house for my new man cave. It's costing me over 50 grand to get this done.
Yep.
But I'm going to have this new man cave, and
I don't see a problem with this. Sorry, where are we going?
No.
However big you made it, make it bigger. Go bigger.
Yeah.
Sage advice from the expert.
Yeah.
I keep asking Liz if we can just move the fruit trees, and I can just widen the shed we're going to build down the back for the same reason. But the looks I'm getting say no.
Maybe that's where it's come from. Maybe the generation behind us are obviously, or the generation after that, are being brought up with this, so therefore it's kind of like part of their childhood, so they're sticking with it more. Maybe I don't know. A few different things there, but
look as well at like the proliferation of D&D is now a mainstream thing.
Like Critical
compared to, I used to sit there as a teenager and go, D&D nerds, get back to your basement. I'm sitting there with Pokemon cards and Magic cards and, like, you know, painting Warhammer figures like I was some kind of, you know, saint compared to them. And I think that's another good example. I think a lot of the kids coming up, I say kids, I'm fucking 35 and they're in their mid-20s, but they're benefiting from that mold being broken. And then to your point, you've then got the older guys and maybe us, because I'm going to have my first child next year. But, you know, we've got maybe at the youngest, at the oldest, maybe like, you know, like Charlotte is what, 7, Viv? 7 or 8?
She's 7, yeah, she'll be 8 in October.
She's 7, yeah. So you're going to be talking, you know, maybe max 10 years old. Probably Topher, who was on before, his eldest is around that age. I think Matt's around that age. And they're the ones who are starting to you know, be brought up with it, and it's very, very normal for them. And, you know, hey, I've been painting Warhammer since I was 6, and you're like, Jesus Christ, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like if I think about, like, without committing too much to my age, my oldest daughter she's 21. right? And it's been interesting how mainstream, because both of my kids look at this stuff and go, "No, thanks, Dad. You just can keep it to yourself." But her and her friends, like board games and all sorts of alternative games and stuff, have become really mainstream and just a thing that, like, they don't watch TV at all. Like, they laugh at me when I go, like, "Oh, there's a movie on tonight. I'm going to watch this." Yeah. They're like,
"Dad, you can watch it whenever you want. What's wrong with you?" Oh.
And that, I mean, you think about, Viv, you were talking before about that increase in the numbers in YouTube who are actually consuming content. I think it's because that's become, for a lot of people, that's their TV from when we were growing up.
Yeah, sure.
I watch YouTube now more than I watch commercial television. Yeah, for sure.
Same as. I think the only thing that rivals it is like the on-demand stuff like Amazon Prime or Netflix or something like that.
Remember when we thought Netflix was great because it was a one-stop shop?
Yeah.
And everyone went, "I don't need to use pirating services anymore. I can get it all in one place." And look who's come crawling back.
Yeah.
I remember when Amazon Prime was also Love Film. Did you guys have that over there? Where they sent you a disc with movies?
Oh, Netflix did that. Netflix did that for Australia, I believe, or the US especially.
It was kind of worked, but the fact that you had to like seal it back in, send it back, and you're like, this disc is not going to last very long because I've got to go for the UK postal
This is getting thrashed.
Yeah, this is getting kicked about a lot. So maybe that's what's happened, Viv.
Yeah.
All of those 48 things we've just discussed in the last half an hour. It's maybe one of those. I figure if we throw enough mud at the wall, some of it'll stick, right?
Something's going to stick. Brown Tower in the comments says, "My twin boys are 26 and they have a completely different approach to the hobby. They don't feel any problem with using Roll20 or Tabletop Simulator. Ultimately, they prefer having actual minis." Carl Makes Up says, "Yes, disposable income is a big part of it. One more thing," he says, GW did drive things to be a lot more child/young adult friendly, simplified the rules and stuff."
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you played 9th Ed 40K? My God, so many layers. My brain leaks out my nose every time I play. Anyway,
I bought the Thousand Suns Codex, and I was just like, okay, so now I've got a Cult, and now I've got a Magic Arcanum, and now I've got a Warlord trait, and now I've got this, and I'm like...
Actually, it was the 1,000 Rules Codex.
Yeah.
Shit jokes for days. Thank you very much. I'll be here literally all night.
But that's where we because we often will talk about our Games Workshop's games are they're dumbed down and they're simplified and all the rest. And Will, who's just turned 18, has been drawn into it by a couple of his mates, and so he's "Come on, Dad, we'll play a game." So I go out there, and like the levels of complication, people go like, "Oh, Empire's a very complex Napoleonic set." I say it's nothing compared to the levels and the layers that are seen in 40K. Far out.
Yeah.
Which is good and bad. It's good that you can get that sort of depth in a game that's was considered pretty dull compared to some of the other rule sets. But it's also terrifying because, man, there's some very smart people out there who can destroy game systems, and they destroy them. They destroy 40K like no other.
Yeah.
It's the most popular beast in the room, right? The real Disco Boy in chat says, "This is
how are you still awake? You have children." Jesus, CJ, you're out of control.
This is an interesting discussion. I don't have any answers. What scares me is that absolute trash that my kids watch on YouTube and how many subs they have. My daughter is constantly watching, gaming channels, other young kids, 12-year-olds,
I've never got that. Just play the game. What's wrong with you?
And, these YouTube accounts have 6-7 million subscribers. And
PewDiePie. What the hell?
Yeah, well, PewDiePie is not a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old who's specifically creating content for their peers. Other 12-year-olds, other 7-year-olds that it's constantly on some shrill voice in the background of I'm not trying to offend anybody, but young American girls have this shrill voice on YouTube. G'day guys, welcome back to my channel, and we're going to be going through this.
It's your girl. Cupcakes are us.
And I'm just like, what the hell are you watching, Charlotte? And she's like, oh, you know, XYZ channel. And I'm
watching
like,
Cupcakes are us. She's fabulous. Don't you know about her dad? Why are you so old?
You can watch 5 more minutes of that and you'll turn it off. It's just, you know, it's scary. It's scary, you know, how many people are out there consuming this sort of stuff. It's just, you know.
To be fair, my parents were watching me watch Dragon Ball Z going, but he's been standing in the same spot for 7 episodes.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is a really pivotal moment, Mum and Dad. He's making a spirit bomb so he can totally fuck up the throw, and we're back to square one.
Oh, I showed my missus, I bought Dragon Ball Z Kai, which is kind of like the abbreviated version of that.
Apparently it cuts down so much on the it's like a third of it gone.
Yeah, because it's just like all the flashbacks, all the monologues, they're kind of being shortened down, but it was the Namek saga, and Goku's fighting Frieza, and I was watching it in the morning, my missus went to work, she came back, and she was like, is this the same fight? And I was like, yep.
Best fight in the whole series, love. Park your butt.
Yeah,
let's go.
Yeah, she's like, she went away for the next, like, 2 days later, she came back, it's like, is it still the same fight? I was like, yep. Such a good series.
Man, how good is Ginyu Force? I still throw Ginyu Force poses all the time. And yeah, I usually do the dude who goes, the one at the front that goes, ah.
The one that's like the butt out, and it's just like,
that's right. But yeah, considering we grew up with that and Samurai Pizza Cats, are we really in a place to judge?
Yeah.
Yes,
well,
we are.
you know,
I will judge till my heart's content.
I was just about to say, you know, Carl Make Stuff replies to Disco Boy's comment saying, that it's worrying, you know, the numbers of subscribers that some of these channels have for you know, for young kids and stuff. But then he goes on to say, but then I remember what I watched as a kid, and it's not much. It's not much more highbrow. Nat One mentions a very valid point. I blame Stranger Things for the boom in D&D. That, you know, that gaming and, you know, role playing, you know, is becoming more acceptable and more mainstream, and it, you know,
How dare people enjoy our hobby? Throw the gates back up.
It is slowly, you know, shedding that nerd in the parents' basement sort of, you know, image.
There's always been this really big thing about driving that whole jock nerd stereotype, and I really struggled with this as a kid because I fucking love sport. My wife describes me as a Labrador. You throw a ball, I will chase it until I am absolutely fucked. Like I am just an absolute human version of a dog. So between me and the dog going to the park, Liz knows it'll be at least an hour and a half before we come home, and the dog will be more tired than I am. But yeah, it's just like, you know, you weren't allowed to be either. Sorry, allowed to be both. You had to pick one.
Ed, you're still not. Can you put those Napoleonics back in the box? Thanks. If you like sport, you're not qualified to play Napoleonics.
Well, I really, really love sport, so I will put them back in the box. Would you like to buy some unopened Perry miniatures I have sitting on the table just over here?
Just finish painting them first, and then.
Yeah, that old chestnut. Yeah, no, I'm good, thanks. I'll just keep them and not play with you then. But I don't know. It's just this real weird thing. It's like, you like, you know, I still love Pokemon. I fucking love Pokemon. It was one of my first loves. You know, that took my Game Boy from being I can play some kind of cool games, because I never had a console as a kid until I bought my Nintendo 64. Where these amazing Japanese family friends in Vanuatu that lent us their Game Boys, and then when we came home after, you know, my dad's work thing was up, after a couple of years, they gave them to us as farewell presents. I was like, this is great. But back then, like, the most advanced game was probably Super Mario Land 2, which was like, you know, had a perpetual system with all the different levels, and that was really cool. But it was like Pokemon was a whole different thing. It's like, how have they packed such a huge amount of stuff into this one little cartridge? And so, yeah, I've got a huge love for that. And so, you know, even as like a teenager, it's like you can't like Pokemon and want to play cricket and be good at it. I'm like, why not? What's wrong with that? I love cricket, you know. I love playing soccer, as we call it over here. I couldn't play AFL because we moved to Queensland. Thanks, Mum and Dad. Missed out on that. Love AFL. But yeah.
The Critical Role guys as well have kind of helped with that adjustment as well.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Definitely.
that's here
Yeah.
in the chat. I was going to try and come back to it. Excuse me, Nat One, Carl makes stuff. Brown Towel, Real Disco Boy. They're all talking about these influences. Nat One says, I blame Stranger Things. Brown Towel says, that gamers jumping all over the place. Carl says, Hasbro, and to a lesser extent, Critical Role. Stranger Things just bumped things up further. Yeah, Critical Role for sure, says Nat One. These sorts of things are, you're becoming more and more mainstream.
Well, even was it? Oh, I can't remember the name of his series, but Will Wheaton did the
Yes.
the great series for ages that my brain has just totally faded on.
Yeah,
But
I know what
but
you're
I
talking
think
about.
I think the Wizards guys actually played the relaunch of D&D 5th edition really well. Like they did that massive extended play test where they basically gave the rules out to everybody for free, and all the people like our club, we got into the play test and played a chunk of 5th, and the D&D stuff had sat on the shelf for years, and we went, oh, something new. It felt like the old style stuff. It was simple, like you look at 4th and 3rd editions, they're complex and
Bloated.
hard.
Yeah.
Whereas they got it, they got the mix right. They drew the old crowd back in. A lot of discussion, a lot of chat around it. Families, like my kids, that's the one thing they do play is D&D.
Nice.
It's kind of interesting as well. The reason why I'm harping back to Critical Role is they did a very interesting tactic because one of the guys called Travis William in there is a super jock. He's a big tank of a guy, and he loves sport.
He's a chunk. He's a bloody unit.
And all the other people were voice actors, so everyone that related to computer games was like, hang on, I know that voice from somewhere, or like anime and stuff. Like everyone started hearing voices that they recognized and could adhere to. But then they started bringing in celebrities like Joe Maniello. I can't pronounce his name. But and then it was like Vin Diesel. They did a special episode with him. Terry Crews. And they started bringing all these celebrities in at the same time, and they're not like celebrities you would associate with a geek. They're like
Terry Crews is an absolute global treasure. He should be just like
preserved at all costs.
Yeah. Love him.
Just want to jump back to the chat for a second. Brown Towel says, do you guys think COVID has had an impact on hobby channel numbers? I've noticed my fellow nurses are fascinated by the terrain I build and have started checking out channels like Luke Towan.
Yeah.
And,
can we just appreciate that guy?
Well, I think
what an absolute nutter! The stuff he can concentrate on, like the things he creates, are incredible.
This is
He's
another
great hobbyist.
Sorry, Ed, just to jump in. I think this is another reason why we're seeing so many numbers here on these big channels, is because there's I see a whole lot of cross-pollination happening, between the railway modelers like Luke Towan and the dioramas and terrain and stuff that he builds. Their sort of techniques becoming more widely used, in part thanks to people like Luke Fellows, becoming more relevant in our hobby space. I see some of the really big crafting channels who, there's a cross-pollination that's happening between the D&D players, the role players, which have always had a much larger number than miniature gamers. It's a much more accessible hobby. You're not spending hundreds of hours by yourself painting stuff, and all of these different ecosystems, all these different communities, are all slowly starting to blend together as we find out as miniature gamers more about railway modeling, or craft or D&D players or role players find out more about miniature gaming, because it's hard now not to have a role play game without miniatures. When I was playing Dungeons and Dragons 20 years ago, it was all pen and paper. We just had a fantasy session in our heads with characters on paper, and we'd sit around and fucking smoke a little bit and create some crazy story and write stats down on bits of paper. Nowadays it's hard to find a role playing group that doesn't have some sort of map on the table or some fucking $6,500 interactive TV embedded in a table, or miniatures.
They need dungeon tiles, is what they need.
Yeah, they do. Mike makes some very nice dungeon tiles.
Hashtag spawn.
That that side of this hobby or this this industry is becoming much more prevalent as the role players start to get more and more more and more miniatures. The accessibility of printers. They need more stuff to craft. All of a sudden, there's all these crafting channels around, and the numbers start stacking and stacking and stacking.
Mm-hmm.
So here's where it all comes full back circle, and this is where the algorithm actually helps.
All hail the algorithm.
Because it's what's showing you these other things that they think, because there's cross-pollination between D&D and terrain makers and miniature painters, it starts pushing it towards each other. So in theory, here's like a weird, profound thing, I guess, but it could be just
we're getting deep, man. This is
YouTube has basically pushed all the geeks together into one big pot of geekiness, and now we're all just finding each other in this giant pot of geekiness.
Yeah. That's true.
Interesting.
That's true.
Fellas, I'm gonna have to check out. I got a grand final to watch tomorrow.
Oh, mate. Thanks, Mike.
I'm watching it. What do you mean? Like, come on, Mike.
My plans. I'll drop.
Mike, who are you going for?
Oh, I don't know yet. I've got, bullies, underdog status, all that sort of stuff. But my uncle is a rabid Melbourne supporter, so
yeah,
I don't know. It might be a toss a coin.
So for anyone who's watching, we're, like I said, we're on the UK stream. It's grand final weekend here for Australian rules football. So everyone's got to have a team, right?
Yeah.
So Melbourne, the last time Melbourne won a premiership was 1965.
Yeah, I didn't say
no, 63, I think. So they're currently the team with the longest drought between premierships, except for clubs that just haven't got one because they haven't existed that long, which is only a couple now. So yeah, a lot of the Melbourne fans are going nuts. But here in the west of Melbourne, the Western Bulldogs, if I don't go for them, I will get shanked.
Yep.
Basically. Anyway, Mike, let
thanks,
you go.
Mike.
Sorry.
Yeah. We'll tune in later, mate. See you later.
Really appreciate it, mate. Take care.
Nat1 says, in relation to people tuning in, because of, COVID or jumping back into the hobby, he says that's what happened to me. I picked the hobby up again after years of doing nothing with it. Lockdown, tune into the hobby channels, and then started filming for fun.
Yeah, Ryan McNaught, who we had on earlier, said the same thing. He got back into 40K with a very targeted ad, thanks to the algorithm. And yeah, he hasn't looked back. He's gone crazy on it, which is great to see.
Sorry, I
was just going to throw a quick plug towards Nat1 Videos and Carl Make Stuff, because they both do amazing videos. And I did
both great channels.
Collaboration recently on a Minds of Moria gaming ball, which Michael made.
Amazing.
It's amazing. It's absolutely colossal. I just painted minis for it, but what
that was used just recently in the video by the Tabletop Alliance.
Yes, yeah, I saw that. Michael told me they'd gone over there, and I was just like, "Oh, cool! They're over, like, those are my minis."
Yeah.
I'm partially famous by association.
It was good. It was great.
By the transitive properties of algebra.
The real Disco Boy says, "Do you think so of the celebrities?" We were talking about, the influencers. He says here, "Do you think so of the celebrities? Henry Cavill, Mila Kunis, Robin Williams, Vin Diesel, all being nerds." This relates back to what I was saying about, Hollywood finally, not just in its movies, but, celebrities, outing themselves, I guess, and have been for a while, though. That, I love playing, role-playing games or miniature games or, people who always used to carry on about Robin Williams and seeing him in a Games Workshop store and all that sort of stuff. And
I think since the death of the Big Bang Theory, we've finally cast aside that real last bastion of, look at these silly nerds, they can't function in society. So I know that, and it's actually quite funny because that show started off very pro, being a nerd, loving geek culture, etc., and then they kind of just cashed in on that. It's easy to just make fun of them. But yeah, there's definitely been a big shift and a movement away from just bashing the nerd and making fun of them, which I think is really positive.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful thing. I think that's a wonderful thing.
Did you guys see the when lockdown first started, that Henry Cavill posted up on Instagram that he was painting little custodians.
These custodes.
And he was like, "Look, no hands. How am I doing it?" And the internet just lost their minds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guy from Midwinter's still trying to get on him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Because apparently they went to school together.
Yeah, like a couple of years apart or something like that.
But it's Jersey. It's not a very big island, let's face it.
No, not at all.
But yeah, that was pretty cool seeing the response. Like, yeah, the collective minds of every Warhammer, even you know, casual Warhammer player just exploded.
Yeah,
it was crazy. And then have you seen the interview where he's sitting in this thing? He's like, "Have you ever done? Do you know Games Workshop?" And the guy's like, "I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm really sorry." He's like, "Oh, okay. So this won't make any sense to you, but for the viewers at home that do know Games Workshop, this light," and then it pans out. "This totally looks like a Blackstone Fortress." I'm like, "Oh my god, he's not just pretending. He's a giant fucking nerd. This is amazing."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it did look like a Blackstone Fortress.
Exactly. And there was that other picture where he was on a plane and he had that Penitent, the Dan Abnett book. And everyone's like,
yeah.
It's like he reads Isaac.
This is real. It's really happening.
Superman is the golden one.
And then the video of him building his own gaming rig, and everyone's like, "Holy fuck! Just take me now, Henry." Like, oh, I didn't know you swung that way, Ed. I fucking will for Henry. Like, come on, man, this is amazing.
Yeah,
it is so good. He's a cool guy, and apparently a really chill guy as well.
Yeah.
But, I think it has helped for sure.
Carl makes stuff. Carl makes stuff in the chat. Elston was saying, you know, you said before, you know, I just was painting minis for the collaboration. Carl makes stuff. Says just painting minis. Paul, that was 84 Moria goblins.
Let me guess. An afternoon?
Yeah. Did that after
a week?
Did that after lunch.
Still impressive.
Between second breakfast.
I think I could have done it in 3 days. I actually did a video about it as well. But yeah, I think I could have done it in about 3 days because I just did everything wrong. But it's a good video if you want to learn how to not patch paint.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see, but this knuckle is just getting weird shapes on it. This is messed up.
Oh, mate, that doesn't look good.
Welcome to old hockey injury combined with old knife injury from when I used to work as a kitchen, in a kitchen.
That looks brutal.
Well, gents, I'm probably got a couple more minutes and then I'm going to have to bail out because I do have to go make some dinner for my partner before she gets home. Otherwise, I'm in trouble.
Elston, thanks, mate, for jumping on and having a chat. It's been good to catch up.
Yeah, it's been, I think it's like 7 years since we last kind of briefly spoke at Salute, wasn't it? Something like that?
Yeah. It's been a while. You know, it's just amazing how time flies. You know, the more I've been getting involved in YouTube and you know, chatting on people's, you know, live streams or posting in the comments, I've heard a few people mention they've met me at Salute before. And, you know, that was a while ago. Last time I was at Salute, I went in 2016 and 2017.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And, you know, time's just disappeared, you know.
Yeah.
It's just disappeared.
It's crazy, as you said, crazy how time flies, and crazy how the world has evolved. So apologies, everyone. I've taken it down this YouTube rabbit hole. So
fine, man. Don't worry about it. It's interesting. Even just as a casual user of YouTube, it really has changed so much in the last, 15 years.
Yeah, I totally think it's a good thing. But you know, I'm just, you know, still, like I said, you know, how much has it changed? It's just crazy for me, you know.
But it does seem as well that the average Joe can now become a celebrity without having to go to acting school and everything like that. If their personality fits, then it's
yo. Yeah, it's your boy.
Yo, no one can stand to be around me for more than
delirious
5 minutes,
motherfucker at 4 a.m. Oh man. So
I appreciate you jumping on, Paul. It's been great to have a bit of a chat, and I'm looking forward to, you know, continuing to, you know, jump into my YouTube and you know, discover all these awesome channels and stuff that are out there, and just, you know, consume the content and be happy. And you know,
awesome source. Well, I'm hopefully when Man Cave is up and running, I have a 24-hour stream planned where I'm going to try and paint all my Tyranids in one hit. So if I do, I'll hit you up. Yeah. And then we can cross time zones again. And
yeah, definitely. That sounds great to me. That sounds great to me.
Awesome sauce. I'm going to love you and leave you. Thank you, everyone. It's been awesome. And I shall catch you all next time, whenever that is.
Thanks, Elston.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Elston. Great to meet you, mate.